I want to touch on an interesting topic today, and one that most likely pertains to you, unless you're a pro fighter. I want to talk about the difference between recreational or amateur fighters. We're talking low-level amateur, but still, recreational, low-level amateur, and high-level pro fighters. What's the difference between these two? Because many people, I believe, simply think that a high-level pro fighter is just so much better in every possible aspect. Like these recreational competitors, recreational hobbyists are down here, and these pro fighters are way up here. It's not even close. That's the perception. I don't think that's the case. I don't believe that's the case from the experiences I have had. By those experiences, I mean traveling around the world, having high-level fighters come here and doing rounds with very, very good people. But at the same time, traveling around to different gyms, doing seminars, sparring with recreational hobbyists and going, like these guys look really good. So what is the fundamental difference between these two that allows the high-level pros to just look so much better? And if you put the high-level pro against the recreational fighter in an actual fight, why would they come out on top? Now you might be going, oh, they're faster, they hit harder, their technique is better, blah, 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 blah. No, that's not what I believe it is. That's not, in my experience doing rounds with different people, what I have noticed. When I see some people who are on pads, I'm like, oh my gosh, that guy has only been training for a year or two, but the technique looks good. He hits really hard. He's crazy fast. He has all the makings to be somebody who is very, very good. What is he lacking? That is always the question. What are they lacking? Why can't they just go in against these high-level pro fighters? So we have two things to cover. And if you can tidy these things up, in my opinion, your skill level will just rocket up. Now, you guys have heard me time and time again on the channel talk about the most important aspect of fight sports, which is not trained, not drilled enough in classes, which your coach does not touch on to the extent they should. Very simply, defense. A recreational fighter will look great, right? You'll see them, boom, they'll be hitting, boom, oh yeah, everything technically looks really sharp. All of a sudden then they have shots coming at them and they don't know how to deal with it. Or even if they do know how to kind of deal with it, that awesome technique which they just had, all of a sudden gets sloppier, gets a little slower, gets a little bit more wild. They cannot maintain it. Whereas a high-level pro fighter can maintain that amazing technique when they're under pressure and they have to utilize their defense. So you have to push the defense. You have to train it, not just in sparring, not just with somebody kind of swatting pads at you in between holding, you know, you're hitting the pads and they're kind of touching back. No, you need to actually have somebody in front of you and do either those Dutch style drills where you're taking and then giving and taking and giving, or just standing there with your back to the wall and just solely working on defense. Maybe as somebody's throwing at you, throwing some little counters back in the air. But when you can do that, I truly believe that recreational fighter who looks great in their offense will now all of a sudden be able to execute that when they spar because they have that confidence behind their defense, which right away starts giving them great counters. That's the very first thing. But you guys have heard me talk about that before. You've heard me preach even through my Strike Ready defense course that you have to do this. You have to train the defense. So what is the other aspect? Well, a high-level pro fighter can find targets and hit those targets. Even if there's somebody, if you remember the name Yotsenklai, high-level Thai fighter, he was a southpaw and he would just rocket in that left round kick. Rocket in that left round kick and just pummel people. And you're going, how does he land one technique time and time again? Well, he's not just throwing it whenever. He's finding those little moments. And even if you're doing one technique, You still have to be able to find those moments. But in general, a high-level pro fighter who's throwing everything, they're doing all the techniques, they're not just throwing to throw, they're able to make quick assessments and find what's open, find the right time for it. And that is something that a recreational fighter will most likely lack. They will step in, they'll be like, okay, I'm gonna throw my combo, jab, cross, hook. And they step in and they throw, but they don't really look, okay, my opponent's hands are way up at head level and he's already shelled up so well. So these 3 shots really have no chance of landing. They're just throwing to throw. Whereas a pro fighter might go, okay, look at that. I threw the jab, but now I'm gonna switch levels to open up the head. Or I threw the jab, it didn't land. Now I'm gonna come down to the body and now I see his hands are up, so I'm gonna chop down to his leg. Having that ability to make adjustments with your offense and not force it too much, that is something which those recreational or low-level amateur fighters lack. How do you go about training this is the question. Well, one of the best things, the possible best things you could do, just as I mentioned with the defense, is have somebody in front of you that you can throw against. It's great because now he gets to work on his defense and I get to work on my offense. And I'm not trying to take his head off, I'm trying to touch him and find an opening. And I don't have to worry about him countering back right now because he's only doing defense. This is great training for him. But it's not just about him. It's about me as well. It's about my ability to go, okay, I'm just gonna be touching and I'm not even gonna go that fast, but how am I gonna try and land? Of course, if we stand here and I go quick and I'm like, look at that, I got you. Yeah, of course, you're gonna land. But can you land at this pace? And see at that pace if you can be clever enough to find openings. This is one of the great drills that you can do back and forward with a partner that is going to increase your skill set so much. Minute for him on defense, minute for me on defense, and back and forward we go. I'm getting smarter with my offense, and he's getting so much better with his defense. And this one drill is going to take that skill set, help eliminate those 2 problems that I talked about, and take you from being a recreational fighter whose skill level in sparring is down here and just boost it right up. And who knows? I have seen some people who have done drills like this and I've sparred with them. I'm like, man, you don't seem like you're a hobbyist. You seem like you're somebody who's climbing the ranks in pro. And that's the goal, right? Get as good as you can. That's why we're doing it. Challenge yourself. Become the best version of yourself so that you're not wasting your time. So that one drill right there is gonna make a world of difference. Find a good training partner, somebody who can get in front of you, who can throw nice technical shots, and that's all you need. One person, one drill, that skill level is gonna rocket up.